Rozmowy bez asekuracji, czyli ubezpieczenia bez trzymanki. Zaprasza Aleksandra Wysocka. Welcome to Insurance Uncovered. I'm Aleksandra Wysocka, your host. Forget small talk. Today, weather chat is a big deal in the insurance world. We are joined by Chris Ewing and Jakub Aska from Impact Forecasting to explore how cutting-edge flood models and real-time weather tools are reshaping risk assessment. Ready for a deep dive into the forecast of insurance? Let's get started. Hello, Chris. What is worth knowing about impact forecasting?
Yeah, thanks, Aleksandra. Nice to be here. And yeah, thanks for inviting us. So about impact forecasting, well, we develop catastrophe models. So that's models that help to quantify and measure risk for things like flood, severe convective storm, windstorms, and earthquakes across the world. So in terms of what's worth knowing about us, well, we're a large team. We're about 150 people that are committed to building catastrophe models to help people understand really, how events like flood events, windstorm events, how they can impact properties and how they can impact lives as well. So as well as building the models, we think about event response as well and how we can assess weather forecasts and see how they might impact people's properties, people's companies, organizations, and also helping insurers to know maybe which areas might have claims and to help them with that process. So we're doing a few different things, building the models. We're thinking about event response. We think also about climate change and how future climate change might impact the risk. And we also help, with insurers and helping them to underwrite risks using some of our models as well. So a few different things about what we do. Yeah.
A lot to do, as far as I can see. Jakub, during the conference in Warsaw, you presented the Impact Forecasting Poland Flood Model version 3.0. What has changed in the latest version of the model, and how can these changes assist insurers and reinsurers in their daily work?
Thank you, Aleksandra. Yes, the new flood model was the main focus of our event that we recently organized in Warsaw. And by the way, thanks very much for attending. And we also presented the windstorm and hail models that we have for Poland. So this new version of the Poland flood model, as you call it, version 3, is really a comprehensive and holistic model update with improvements in all components of the model, in hazard, in vulnerability, as well as exposure, and also in the loss calculation platform itself. So the list, what has changed, is quite extensive. So I will start with a key enhancement in the hazard, the coverage and the resolution. So the model now covers also the pluvial type of flood losses. So basically losses that are caused by severe rainfall, like, for example, the flash floods that may occur in urban areas and so forth. And in addition, this is in addition to the traditional fluvial or the riverine type of losses that were covered in the previous version of the model. The resolution, which we have modeled the flood extents, is 10 by 10 meters. So we are basically using really high resolution elevation data to make sure we capture the flood extents as accurately as possible. And this is also major or massive improvement for the model accuracy. There are also important updates on flood protections that we have included in the model to better reflect the reality. For example, we included new flood protection measures like the polder in Racibor Dolny, as well as we updated the mitigation measures in major populated areas. Moreover, we have developed a robust methodology to simulate the effect of the drainage systems or the sewage systems in populated places, in basically larger cities. This is so we can basically simulate the effect of the water infiltration into sewage system to accurately simulate the pluvial flood extents in cities, which are now much more realistic. There is also a feature in the software which basically allows users to use their own flood defenses, or the information about the flood defenses can be included in the model input data. I think that's the key updates on the hazard, and now I will move to other components that were updated. So I mentioned the vulnerability. That's a very important component. It's basically the part of the model which is responsible for the damage calculation. Here, we could spend hours on this topic, speaking what we have done and the extensive work we have done. But to summarize, we've basically spent significant amount of time analyzing Polish building stock data and developed a completely new damage functions for Poland. We have also accounted for construction differences in different parts of the country, as there are basically specifics in how houses were historically built, for example, in northern part of Poland, close to the sea, in comparison to the houses that were basically built, for example, in mountains. So this is also accounted for in our model. And finally, we also have a new feature in the model which allows users to simulate future flood losses under different variants of future climate. So we have basically simulated several time horizons under several emission scenarios. The RCP scenarios representative concentration pathways, which are essentially projections of future greenhouse gas concentrations. This feature is there to basically provide realistic view for future flood losses on clients' portfolios, and to be really realistic, we also account for future evolution of flood protection adaptation in Poland.
You told important thing about climate, and Chris, there is really a big discussion about climate change and the increase in extreme weather events. Does this also concern Europe? What can we expect in the coming decade, and how bad will it be?
Yeah, thanks. Maybe just to build on what Jakub just said there around what we're doing around climate change too. So obviously, maybe you've seen increased temperatures in recent years across Europe, and that's caused what we call kind of chronic perils like drought and heat wave to be more regular. But also with the changing climate, and obviously we've seen things like recent wildfire events throughout Europe as well, and severe convective storms, so hailstorm events in across many of recent summer times. With the models we build, we're looking to represent the current climate and those types of activity, but also think about the future climate as well. And that's something that we want to do, and we're working with different academic institutions to build some of that latest scientific research into the models. So that can be things like with different warming scenarios, how emissions might change and how that might impact temperature changes. But then those temperature changes might impact how the rain falls in different areas. So that's where our modeling comes in. We look at the different scenarios, how rainfall will change, and then we model through our flood modeling expertise. We look at those different scenarios. So the hazard, if you like, the actual climate and the impact on the weather, and that's a key consideration. And that's we bring that into our models. And for Poland, that includes flood, severe convective storms, so hail events in summer, but also windstorms that happen during winter. But it's not just the hazard; it can also be what people insure, so buildings and how they change, maybe where they are built. So if they're built in flood-prone areas or on floodplains, that can be a consideration. But also what measures people can do to their own properties or organizations can make to their own properties. So mitigation as well. Can you install like kind of local flood defenses? Can you install, different measures, maybe to not store expensive equipment in basements, but to bring those, above into the ground floor or the first floor. So those types of things, we're also interested in modeling those assumptions. So we model the hazard, we model the exposure where things are, but we also model how a building might look in 10, 15, 20 years' time, the types of mitigation measures that can be brought into that building. So, there's definitely lots to think about, especially for Europe. As we said, wildfires, floods, severe convective storm. But when we build our models, we're trying to take into account the changes in frequency and severity of hazard, but also how people might adapt to that and how that can also be a factor in the modeling as well. Hopefully that's a lot to cover in that. Hopefully that was hopefully that makes sense.
Jakub, at the conference in Warsaw, you talked about a tool that allows monitoring potential catastrophic damages in real time based on weather forecasts updated twice a day. Can you tell something more about it?
Yes, you are referring to our product called Automated Event Response. So this is essentially a loss forecasting service providing our clients with loss projections for windstorms, which may occur on their portfolios in upcoming days based on weather forecast data. It is fully automated, so there is no manual intervention. And in a nutshell, it works in a way that we gather the weather forecast data from numerical models. We create projected footprints, and to account for the uncertainty in weather forecast, we create multiple versions of these footprints based on different weather forecast models. And then we simulate this footprint or these footprints on clients' portfolios, which are already uploaded in our system. Then, if the losses are exceeding given thresholds, which is, by the way, custom per each client, a comprehensive report is generated and delivered directly into clients' email inboxes. So in Europe, this is done twice a day, as you mentioned. But in other regions, for example, like in US for hurricanes, this is actually more often. In US, it's every 6 hours. And this is because hurricane track estimates are published every 6 hours in US. And once the windstorm event occurs, once its peak has passed, the system will run also so-called post-event analysis for our clients. The workflow here is very similar to the pre-event loss projection, with the difference that we use actual observed wind gusts rather than the forecasted data. So this service is in use by over 100 companies globally, and it provides helpful information for insurers, for example, for claims operations, and also some reinsurers also benefit from the service, receiving the loss projections for the whole region using market industry exposure database. I have already mentioned that we have this AER, Automated Event Response Service, available for US hurricane, but we also have it for Japan typhoon, and we are further expanding to other perils and other regions. For Poland, for example, or for Europe in general, we are now starting a similar system for hail losses. So soon there will be a webinar introducing this new impact forecasting service or product. So stay tuned. We will share the invite.
It really sounds interesting. I'm waiting for it. Maybe also press could be invited for the seminar because it's really, I guess, important. Okay, so to sum up, Chris, what does the collaboration between impact forecasting and the insurers and reinsurance in Europe look like? And do insurers utilize 100% of the potential of this collaboration?
No, thank you. That's a good question. Yeah, I would say on the second part, for sure, maybe not using everything that we do in all cases. So there is a lot we can offer. So maybe, yeah, I'll talk you through some of that collaboration. So Jakub mentioned there the event response, and that's really one way we work with insurers and their data to help insurers to help with claims management. So by providing these early loss estimates to insurers, that enables an insurer to better help their customers to understand which areas might be impacted and to, for example, from an operations standpoint, bring maybe claims teams to specific regions to help with the claims and response process to get ultimately to try to, I guess, get claims settled more quickly. So we're trying to be, part of that process with some of the loss forecasting that we do. Yeah, just to try and help understand where claims might occur. So that, as Jakub mentioned, is for windstorm and severe convective storm, and is there for Poland as well. But as we head into this summer, there's there will be severe convective storm hail activity. So I think that's an opportunity, hopefully, for more insurers to use this service and this product. And then other ways we collaborate with insurers and reinsurers. That might be if an insurer is looking to, for example, start a business in a new region or start thinking about underwriting a new product. Maybe that's flood insurance, or it could be motor insurance as well in some cases. And the data we have, we can help the insurer understand where the catastrophe risks are which areas are more likely to be impacted than others. So that's something else we're doing. And then I guess the other part would be across Europe, there's obviously, quite strong regulatory requirements about understanding natural catastrophe risk for an insurer. So we work with insurers and with our models to help the insurer understand the capital requirements they need. And many insurers use the impact forecasting models within their partial internal model process. So for Solvency II capital requirements, they're using the impact forecasting models. So that's something that we can help insurers with, and we can, obviously, we know how we build the models, we know the assumptions we brought into that. So we work a lot with insurers to help them, understand the models, but also hopefully it's a two-way process where we understand more about, the business as well, and we can work together to go through that process. The same, I guess, would be with climate change from both regulatory but also other aspects. We're able to help, look at what the future risks might be as well.
Thanks for listening, and big thanks to Chris, Ewing and Jakub Aska for guiding us through the complex world of risk modeling today. Their insights on how weather forecasts shape insurance show us that what seems unpredictable can actually be managed with good models. We hope this episode helps you strategize better coverage against our changing climate. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Until next time, keep an eye on the forecast and your risk assessments sharp.